Hey, fourth grade, happy Friday. Okay, lesson 9.7, last lesson of chapter 9. We will be doing review and test next week. So we are wrapping this chapter up today as far as new lessons goes. And today we're talking about comparing decimals. Okay, so we already know how to write decimals in tenths and hundredths. So today we're going to be comparing them. All right, so we are going to be using greater than, less than, or equal to compare two decimals. So we've got, how would we say this? 12 what? 12 hundredths compared to 35 hundredths. Okay. Now, when we see it visually, we can clearly see that which one is larger. Right, the 35 hundredths. But what if those models aren't there? Well, one way we can do it is you can write it on top of each other like this. If those numbers are backwards, I apologize. But you can write them on top of each other like this and then compare them place value by place value, starting with your tenths. Okay, so 1 and 3, those are different, so we can use those to compare. Which one is larger? Very good. The 3 is larger. So right off the bat, we know that 35 hundredths is greater than 12 hundredths. So we would read this as 12 hundredths is less than 35 hundredths. All right, let's look at another one. We've got 1/10, very good, compared to 10 hundredths. Very good. Okay, so let's look at a model of this. We've got 1/10 here and 10 hundredths here. So how would we compare those two? How would we compare those? If we've got 1/10 and 10 hundredths, like this. Well, 1 and 1, we cannot use those to compare because they're the same, correct? So what if we move on into our hundreds place? We've got 0 here, and well, we know that if there's nothing there, that we can have a 0 placeholder there as well, right? So these two decimals would be what? Very good. They would be equivalent. 1/10 is equivalent to 10 hundredths. All right, let's look at another one. 8 tenths, very good, compared to 8 hundredths. Very good. Just checking your place values, see if you remember. All right, so we've got 8 tenths here and 8 hundredths here. Now, I know some of us may hear hundredths right off the bat and be like, ooh, this one's bigger. But as we can clearly see by the model, this one is actually the smaller decimal. So it's always good to make sure that we are looking at either the models or if they're available, or again, you can stack them on top of each other like this, okay? And when we use our tenths place to compare, 8 is larger than 0, which means that the 8 tenths would be the larger decimal. So 8 tenths is greater than 8 hundredths. All right, 79 hundredths, very good, compared to 8 tenths. Great job. All righty, so let's look at those models we have for that. We've got 79 hundredths here and 8 tenths here. Now these ones are very close. So sometimes when we have pictures like this, they're not always as clear as they are on the screen right now. Sometimes we know in our math book they're really small, or the color is kind of distorted and it's hard to see what's shaded, what's not shaded. So again, that's why it's really good to stack them on top of each other using place value to compare like this, okay? So if you look here in the corner of video, if you have not been looking up here, we've got 7 and 8 in our tenths place. Which tenth is larger? Very good. The 8 is the larger number, which is going to tell us that 8 tenths is greater than 79 hundredths. So 79 hundredths is less than 8 tenths. All right. Let's look at these two. 25 hundredths, very good, compared to 51 hundredths. Good job. Okay. So we've got those right there, 25 hundredths compared to 51 hundredths. This one is kind of easy because they're both hundredths. So we really can just look at this number that we've got in our decimal to compare. We've got 25 out of 100 or 51 out of 100. Which one is greater? Very good. The 51 hundredths is greater. So this would read 25 hundredths is less than 51 hundredths. Very good. All right, another one. We've got 71 hundredths. Very good. Compared to 7 tenths. Great job. So we've got 71 hundredths. That looks just like that. And we've got 7 tenths. That looks like that shaded in. Okay, so if we compare those like this on top of each other, can we use our tenths place to compare? Nah, they're the same number. That's not going to help us. So we move on over to our hundredths. We've got 1, and we don't have anything here. Now, when we don't have anything here, what can we use as a placeholder? Very good, a 0 as a placeholder. So we've got 1 compared to 0. Which one is larger? Very good. The 71 hundredths is going to be the larger decimal. Very good. So 71 hundredths is greater than 7 tenths. Good job, boys and girls. All right, last one. I want you to pause this one and do it on your own. You can either stack them on top of each other like this, or if you want to, you can take the time to draw the squares. It's up to you. Make sure you pause it though and try it on your own, and then I will be right here waiting. All right, so let's see how you did. 9 hundredths compared to 9 tenths. Okay, so we've got 9 and 9 here. When we stack them on top of each other, if that's the route that you chose to take, if you stack them on top of each other to compare them by place value, it should have looked like this. Decimal point 0.09, decimal point 9, and then of course here we know that that acts as a placeholder or a 0. Starting with our tenths place, we've got 0 and 9. Which one is larger? Very good. The 9 tenths is larger. And if you look here in these models, there is a clear difference between the two, 9 hundredths and 9 tenths. So that means that 9 hundredths is less than 9 tenths. All right, 4th grade, that is it for today. You have done awesome this whole week. Next week, we are going to be reviewing on Monday, and your Chapter 9 test is on Tuesday. So make sure that if you need to go back over any of these lessons we've talked about in Chapter 9, that you do that before your test next Tuesday so you can be as sharp as possible and ready. All right, guys, great job today. Check your folders for any assignments. Have a wonderful Friday and an even better weekend. And I will see you next Thursday for a new lesson and a new chapter. Have a great day, guys.